Good morning. I've been watching the developments right now, and we're preparing for the festive season, but we also look ahead at the new year, the developments within the political and religious environments. And a few thoughts struck my mind, and I hope they make a difference in yours. One, regarding this issue of regulation of religion, I'm going to talk about it until it's not an issue anymore. It's true that for evil to prevail, good men have to do nothing about it. And when the enemy of our faith is busy campaigning, we cannot keep quiet. Jesus Christ said, if these people stop praising me, the stones will speak. I'm not going to let any stone defend my faith in my era. Let me die defending the faith. The book of Jude tells us exactly what to do. Evil men have crept in, they've found their way into our cycles, and they've started doing the devil's work. That is why Paul warned us that we need to watch out for those who are dogs, who masquerade as angels of light but are angels of darkness. What is my pick? My point is, sin and crime are not synonymous. Not all sin is crime. A lot of sin is not crime, because sin is defined by God through the Holy Scriptures, and crime is defined by men through laws they make. So not every sin is crime, but not every crime is sin. A lot of crimes are not sin. What am I saying? This is what people like Reverend Macaulay and all other people never understand, because they've always enjoyed privilege. In the old South Africa, a lot of crimes were not sin. In old South Africa, if you lived in number 417 and you were found sleeping at number 418, it was a crime. Reverend Macaulay will never know that. He'll read about it only from history books. We used to. I was 12 when my entire family was arrested because we visited a relative without getting a permit from the superintendent. That was crime, but it was not sin. Many of you go back and you realize that the issue of Babas and Pondo and Jani Pietre, in those days when we still had the Immorality Act, whites were not allowed to have affairs with blacks. That is not sin, but it was crime. And those of you who followed politics and religion will remember the days of Desmond Tutu, Frank Chikane, Mlochwa, and all those great men of God, the Reverend Dube and all those men of God. And Pastor Ray Macaulay will never understand that. He cannot process. Ray Macaulay, in his best thinking, cannot process our anger at what he's trying to do, at what the government is trying to make him do against us. The government, of course, has sold itself to the devil because they forget where we come from. Different government structures have been set up and they've forgotten our history, how the religious sector was used to propagate some of the worst crimes against humanity, and all that. It was legal. It was legal but sinful. Jani Bietche and the Babas and Pondo opted for suicide, which is not what we're going to do, because in the days we lived, it was crime for a white man to love a black girl. That was crime, but it was not sin. Now, that is why we have propagated for the separation of state and religion. The state and the church must be separated. The state must use laws they pass to run the country, and the church must use their holy scriptures to save people from sin. A lot of people we think are lost, the state think are okay. We who read the Bible do not believe in ancestral worship. We don't believe in traditional healing. We don't believe in that. It's against our religion. But they believe in that. So where I sit as a preacher of the gospel, I see a traditional healer as a sinner, and I'm calling them to repentance. But where government sits, there's nothing wrong with traditional healing. And I sold out on my own culture. I said that when I chose Christianity but it's my constitutional right. A lot of people think Christianity is a white man's religion. They're dumb to think that. There was Christianity on the African continent long before whites came. But the point is, I traded my African culture for my Christian belief. So I'm a traitor to my people. But where I am, I seek out the Botswana. I'm in Botswana. I seek out the Botswana to draw them into my walk with Christ. It never gives sense to government because there's nothing wrong in believing in ancestral worship. But I believe that it's sin. So sin is not crime and crime is not sin. Now, when government tries to ride both horses, when government steps in to decide what sin is and what crime is, government is encroaching on my belief. Government does not possess the tools to tell a true believer from a false believer. And that is why they've conveniently approached people like Macaulay and company, who are going to try to define which sins are crime. It's not for us. I'm thinking of this peer review thing. Fine. They're going to look at qualifications, but let's stop. Before there was Xaluva and before there was the CRL Rights Commission, the Baptists had their own seminaries, the Catholics had their own seminaries, the African traditionalists did not even believe there was need for seminary. We come from a point of view that says if God has called me, His grace qualifies me. So there is nothing that can ever force me to have a theological degree before I can reach. Now, when Ray Macaulay and their peer review committee sit there, and they must decide who a true preacher is, what tools are they going to use? The point that should be asked is what biblical tools are they going to use to tell one man of God from another, and in such a way that it will make sense to a secular government? What they're doing is they're using Ray Macaulay and company to oppress the church, the same way the apartheid government. And I sympathize with Ray. Ray will never understand what he's saying. He'll never understand our anger. He'll understand why they went for him and all these people. He'll never understand what the point of consternation is to us. We saw the apartheid government use church organs to oppress people. And that's exactly what they're going to try to do. He's going to sit there with his company and decide this is what makes a true preacher. From what? From an academic qualification. If you consider academia, Reverend Macaulay is not qualified to be a preacher. Because what institution did he go to that was accredited to Saka? You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not insulting him. We are talking fact. If we are to talk what makes a true preacher academically, what makes Bishop Lechanyani a true preacher? Has he gone to any biblical seminary? Stop being puppets in the hands of this government. Stop being a puppet. I belong to a religion where I don't have to go to school to preach the gospel. I just have to have the calling of God upon my life. And what is that based on? All the way from Jesus Christ, my Lord. He was a carpenter. What do carpenters have to say with the salvation of human souls? When he went out mobilizing his first disciples, he went for fishermen. He didn't go for Pharisees who were teachers of the law. When he chose people like Paul, he sent them to people who did not even understand what the economic standing was. Because those issues are heavenly descended. Those issues were determined by the Holy Script, and no government have a right to come in and dictate to them. If you follow South African history, remember the sad story of Reverend Chikane. How when the apartheid government tortured him, they used his own deacon. He and this man belonged to the AFN. But the government had sown seeds in the head of this deacon that saw Reverend Chikane's fight for human rights as a crime. That's where they are taking us through this peer review thing. I'm saying to you, keep your hands off religion if you're government. And you religious puppets, you are selling out the church in a way you shall be ashamed to stand before Jesus Christ. Separation of church and state is the way to go. Let government use the laws they have to uproot criminal activity among taxi drivers, among preachers, among nurses, among doctors, because this peer review thing has no legal power. but no religious power either. So the Bible finds them fault. The Lord does not empower them. I'm wondering if in response to the rapes that happen in the churches, which we believe are atrocious, and if you've been following our Facebook posts and our sermons, we've been hated. I'm probably one of the most hated preachers in South Africa, because from the very beginning, I've spoken against the immorality. I've spoken about the money laundering. I've spoken against those things. I have been enemies to people who are misleading the people of God. And we say there are such atrocities. But we are saying if somebody is committing a crime, we believe there already are agencies to attend to that. And that is why I said to you a few weeks ago, we need to applaud the likes of Solomon Ashoms. He has a passion for the cleansing of the church. It has been sued by a lot of preachers. We think are wolves in sheepskin. We need to applaud the efforts of young ladies like Cheryl Sondo. We have to applaud those. If there are criminal elements within the church, uproot them. But the fact that all this is happening in the absence of a regulated church shows that there is no need to regulate church to deal with the criminal things. All they want is to start to control what we say, to control what we believe. And religion as a philosophy falls within the subjective. It's an ideology. Religion is an ideology. You can't legislate for or against an ideology. But you have created through the constitution an environment through which each ideology is stripped of its criminal tendencies. Considering that not all crime is sin, we have been persecuted in the past. Look at right now. We're pushing hard the country's pushing hard for the hate speech bill. If they pass that, every sermon we preach is crime. So what is Ray and company going to do? What am I saying? I'm saying to government, lay your hands off religion. And I'm saying to Reverend Macaulay and company, it's not too late to listen to your conscience and pull out of this thing. This regulation of religion is a shame to the body of Christ. But then there are issues we never thought through. We differ in our traditions, even in our Christian traditions. We differ in our beliefs. Now, you can't legislate a sector of the religion and not legislate the rest of religion. How are you going to pull in the Muslims into all this? How are you going to pull in the Hindus? How are you going to pull the Baha'is? How are you going to pull in the Buddhists? Listen to me. Don't push us in a direction the rest of the Islamic world is going to, where you begin to legislate against sin. A lot of people scream ISIS. I don't understand what ISIS is. It's the Islamic State of Iran and Syria, where they are using the Quran to run countries. That is where you're taking us. Because once you open that Bible and you decide who's wrong, who's right, and those who are right should be persecuted and the churches should be closed down, how are you different from the Muslims? You can never legislate against sin, because sin lies where government is concerned in the area of the subjective. A lot of Christians smoke. I believe that smoking is sin. A lot of Christians drink alcohol. I believe that drinking alcohol is sin. Now, when we come before the peer review, do we give drunkards licenses? Do we give smokers licenses? And as I said in the past, if I open my Bible just on marriage, I would never give Reverend Macaulay a license, because I don't believe in divorce and remarriage. And he's gone through divorce how many times? Twice, thrice? Now, who's going to review who? I am saying to government, lay your hands off religion. And I'm saying to Reverend Macaulay and company, it's not too late to listen to your conscience and pull out of this thing. We have to realize that enough government institutions exist to deal with crime. If a man rapes women, if a man embezzles people of their funds, if a man is into racketeering, if a man is into money laundering, you don't need a religious peer review committee to deal with that. There are laws that exist for that. As for the Civil Rights Commission, I would advise that your term is coming to an end, Kaluva, and we have not seen what you are trying to do. Maybe it's time to redeem yourself by fighting for real cultural, religious, and linguistic rights. You need to have spoken to the Department of Education and asked them, why are my Botswana children forced to learn Afrikaans at school before they can be certified? Where are my children going to use Afrikaans? Because my linguistic rights have been undermined. My children are strangers among their own people. I'm a missionary. When I take my children to Botswana, they can't even read the Botswana Bible. They can't even speak to my people in their own language. You should have concentrated on that and stop running around with agendas for which other agencies already exist. The Human Rights Commission exists for human rights violations. The SAPS exists. SARS exists. All other law and bylaw enforcement agents exist. You have neglected your mandate. Our children are forced to learn a foreign language on Africa when they can't even speak their mother tongue. You are supposed to have a concentrate on those and lay your hands off business you have not been mandated to do. Enjoy the rest of your day.